Good afternoon, Mario Blandini here at Drobo. As mentioned before, we have some samples. This happens to be a plastic Icy Dock, but you get the same point. You can put a 2.5-inch drive in there and it will adapt it to a 3.5-inch. And we have an OCZ Talos drive. We just did a webcast with them this week on their entire drive portfolio from a solid state perspective. This is the one that we would include in our drive bundle. They say they are very light, and yes indeed, it would be hard to break a window with one of these, unlike a 2 terabyte disk, which is quite heavy. So we are going to cover in this section a demonstration of Drobo technology. And to go ahead and get started, Matt, who is a solution architect here at Drobo, will be doing a lot of the driving. I'll be doing some of the pointing and the talking, and the hope is we'll be done in less than a half hour. So thanks for joining this next session of our presentation. So if you can toggle between laptop and computer there on the wall, it'll bring the video up. All right, we also have Christian from our solution architect team who's going to help us by wheeling out the unit that we're talking about. So behind that door, we have, you'll notice how the fan noise just got a little bit louder. I know everyone's saying, when am I going to get my B1200i for my home lab? Well, as you can hear from the sound, it does belong in a server closet in a rack mount configuration. As he goes and wheels that out, you'll see that the presentation we're about to show you is real. There are no actors. This is a full-fledged system. And actually, Matt, why don't you go ahead and blink the lights, just to make sure. You'll see here these blinking the lights through our Drobo dashboard. And what we'll see is
it's blinking.
Some cool blinking. Now we've had people tell us we should go Knight Rider back and forth, kit car style. We've got a feature request in for that on the blink lights. Yeah. But for now, you've got that whole blink light thing.
I'm sorry, I got Cylon flashbacks from that.
Right. So we know what we're talking about here. We have I/O meter running. In fact, you'll see that the system has been running for a while. We want to give it a little bit of a head start. As Rod described for you, we are profiling the nature of the read environment in the box even before we introduce SSDs. What we want to do here in a live situation is actually install an SSD. So you see we're here around 600-ish IOPS with only 9 7200 RPM drives. About what you expect from that sort of thing. We go to access specifications. We can talk you through the setup there a little bit. We're running a fairly standard 4K random read test. Who hasn't used I/O meter here? Of course, well the video guys didn't raise their hand. Everybody else naturally has. Who would have thought you needed to get a degree in physics to use I/O meter? But there's a lot of other things going on. Fairly vanilla configuration here. You'll see it's 4K, all random, 100%. In terms of the way it's assigned, if you go into the workers, you'll see that we've got a volume, in this case this E volume, associated with 2 workers, and we've got 3 outstanding IOs going on there. So what we want to do here...
How big is the one, and is it single or double parity?
Well, we're definitely going to do that. Bring up the Drobo dashboard, and you can see here that we have a couple of volumes associated. You go under volumes, we've got a couple of them created. You'll see that it is a 16 terabyte smart volume because we do thin provisioning, thin reclamation, and everything's absolutely easy. Now we did a bunch of whiteboarding. One thing I think may have gotten a little bit.
That ain't right.
How so?
Because if you're running I/O meter, the first thing it does is fill the whole disk to create its file.
Let's go back to I/O meter and we'll show you that we specified a file size. So under here, maximum disk size, we specified that.
Okay, so
very observant. We've got Howard, a I/O meter expert,
professional I/O meter guy.
Sure. Absolutely. So
okay, so that's 1 terabyte test area.
It's a 1 gigabyte test
area. 1 gig test area.
So,
oh, that'll look really good. Yeah.
Well, again, what we want to do is we want to show you the stark contrast between no SSDs with SSDs. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in there. And that's actually a perfect time. Will someone volunteer from the audience to be our Vanna White and put the SSD into the box? Anybody?
Anyone?
Take it away, Scott.
Do it.
Scott, be careful.
All right.
Be careful.
There's only one way to put it in incorrectly. That's upside down. So think, but he's a Drobo expert.
Be an user. But you can feel that.
All right.
It doesn't feel right, just push harder.
All right, SSD is going. And please note on the screen here that we're showing that drive, that slot to be empty. As soon as it goes into the system, He's seated it. About 30 seconds later, we are going to give it up to Scott. Good job, Scott.
You can put stuff
I'm a
in
storage
stuff like
expert.
nobody else.
30 seconds later, the green light's going to come on.
Hiring?
You're going to see that the SSD now becomes populated with a thing. And lo and behold, what happened? The transactional tier is active. Prepare to promote data. The transactional tier is active. We also sent an alert here that said we detected a new drive, OCZ Talos drive. So we're passing that around. Feel free to look at that while that's going on. Matt, can you bring up that PDF there? Because I want to show what's going to happen. We're going to do a bunch of other things in the middle. As Rod described, we are now that we have the transactional tier enabled, we are promoting data from the bulk tier that we were keeping there logically. We are going to continue to pattern that data for its temperature, and we will begin to promote it at a regular interval in our system. So the promotion happens at a regular interval, and we'll continue to see an increase in your random read IOPS in this case to the effect of more than 2x what you'd expect. We'll see at the end, we'll come back after it gets out of the oven. Kind of like a cookie show. You put it in the oven, it'll come out here, you'll see as we get there. So the frequently accessed data we expect to be on the SSDs, the net effect, 2x. How much work will we have done to make this acceleration happen?
Scott did all the work.
You're right. And as an IT person, a former IT guy myself, I would say, while we make it easy enough to operate like a car, it's really the time savings that's really what is beneficial here. And in a smaller organization, Tom asked you, put your SMB hat on. That person's doing surveillance cameras and the badge control on the front door and fixing projectors. The last thing they want to worry about in a lot of cases is a lot of capacity planning and modeling there. So we're back to a relatively low ambient noise level now that we've taken the box out of there. But it's over on the other side of that wall. You can take more pictures there later. Hey Matt, can you show us the network setup? Because a lot of folks, if they're new to iSCSI, they might think of it as a hygiene problem. I know you guys know what iSCSI is all about, but no one got that joke, unfortunately.
We got it, we just didn't laugh.
You're laughing on the inside. What we have here is a pretty vanilla setup. So Matt's got one port here configured. You can have multiple iSCSI ports. And our recommendation, a lot of people ask, hey, when are you going to come out with 10 gig? Everybody wants everything a lot bigger. Right now, with the on-motherboard connectivity, as well as with switching infrastructure that most small businesses might have, we give them multiple GigE ports so they can load balance and multipath across those. And we think it's easier because they're not doing complex bonding and teaming and all that sort of stuff from a networking perspective. Connect it up and do it from your familiar environment. From a load balancing perspective, you get the same benefits in an easier-to-use fashion. This is the first Drobo, by the way, if you go to the management port, that has a dedicated management port. How cool is that? So what this means is you can now, from your laptop, run the Drobo dashboard management software without having to run it on the SAN.
So it means I can have a dedicated iSCSI network like I should always have had.
Absolutely. So Howard's a best practices guy.
So you have power bands in another subnet.
Yes, we allow you to do that, and that is a cool thing. So it's something that didn't exist on Drobo. In fact, last Tech Field Day, you guys were saying, you guys got to have that. We got it, which is a totally cool thing. Another thing we have is the ability to discover now Drobos on other networks. So we'll always still allow you to auto-discover what's on that network, as well as add Drobos by IP. So you see we added that by IP, and we went ahead and picked it up that way. Hey Matt, show us the list of Drobos, and maybe you can walk through, because before Matt worked at Drobo, he was a customer of Drobo. So he is now working here. Tell us a little bit about the management and what you like about this over the last version we had.
Sure. So with this Drobo dashboard, we're able to manage all of our Drobos in our infrastructure. So as Mario was saying, when we discover the Drobos maybe at our data center or at our DR site, we can now manage everything from one location. One of the questions with the iSCSI network, assuming that it was routable to my management host, even my older Drobos without the management port, I could manage from here. I could create volumes, I could go ahead and change settings on my Drobos, everything from this one management interface. So that was, you can see here we have in our engineering lab quite a few Drobos here. Everything on the local segment as well as those that are remote I've added as well. In terms of the newer dashboard, other things we've added are things like performance load. So we're able to see a point in time, what's going on with our Drobo, so we can actually see what is our read, our write, and even a little bit of our tiering IOPS. In our newest version, this is slated to come out here in a day or so. Also has the tiering IOPS in there as well, so we can see what the split between the spinning disks and
So
the
tiering IOPS is SSD IOPS.
Correct. Yeah, so those are accelerated IOPS on the SSDs there, so you know how much is being served from there.
421.
So yeah, and as we'll get to it, it's still building. As Mario's graph showed, it takes a little while for the tiering to build up. But before we started with 500 IOPS, so now we're up over well up over 800.
Yeah, it's growing as we speak in the background.
It's combined.
IOPS at the top is not
That's spinning disks, tiering IOPS of the SSDs.
Okay.
So we combine that to get our 842
fine, yeah,
right
just
now.
looking at it,
Good point. Good.
Sure.
with them both being the same, it looked like that was,
Good
421
point.
total, and they're
Yeah.
all coming from the
Yeah.
SSDs.
Yeah, good point.
Sure.
Question from the back?
Are you exposing any of this through SNMP?
Yeah, so from a management perspective, it's a great thing. If you go under dashboard preferences, again, you can go to set email alerts. We don't have SNMP alerting as of right now. It's something that we're continuing to add to the roadmap, growing with the idea from an SMB up. Do you guys think that a lot of people will collect email alerts? Because not everything supports SNMP. It's on the roadmap for sure, but for a smaller organization,
in your
will
market,
email work?
more people will do email alerting than have an SNMP trap catcher.
Right. So that's kind of where we're going, but as Tom mentioned, larger organizations are adopting us too, so we're looking definitely to provide that in the future.
Right.
Unless you're working with systems under SCOM.
The systems?
If you're operations manager,
Yeah.
if you're running SCOM, you would want to have SNMP.
Mm-hmm. But is SCOM something that somebody had like maybe a VMware Essentials Plus two server type of cluster? They may not be quite the size to be running that, you think?
No, but if it's Hyper-V, they might.
Okay, in that case, sure. And what's cool about our 1.1.0, we're talking a lot about tiering, but also enabled in this same software release is support for Microsoft Server 2008 R2 clustering and Hyper-V. So you'll see that from Drobo as well here as an additional environment that was not previously supported in a full way with the live migration. Question?
Do you see your customer base needing like 20 plus Drobos, or would that be a different market? So like I see all the Drobos listed there, I'm like, that doesn't seem like where your market is.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect segue before I go to a guest speaker we're going to bring in via Skype. Drobos are built for the small and medium business IT guy who has 250 or fewer users. The idea is that you can get in a single Drobo B1200i both capacity and performance. And because we make it so easy, it automatically does the tiering, it's easy for them. That being said, there's a lot of folks who are larger who use EMC, NetApp, IBM, Dell, HP, and we have a campaign going on right now. Tom came up with it. My other SAN is a Drobo.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, you ever see those bumper stickers? You know, my other car is a Mercedes or something like that. My other SAN's a Drobo. 75% of the data that a large organization has is not tier 1 mission critical. So we see a lot of folks, they'll buy instead of another shelf of equal logic storage or another shelf of left-hand storage, they might buy a Drobo. Easy to deploy, they'll migrate their tier 2, tier 3 VMs or use it for
Backup targets.
Backup, disk-based backup, online archiving of things. There's a lot of different use cases. So we as a company don't want to say, hey, if you're a big company, don't use this. There's a Fortune 20 customer in the Midwest that bought this stuff, and their application is a very large online archive. It was going to cost them $2 million to do the same thing on their EMC that it cost them a lot less to do on a Drobo, so they bought it that way. So it's a great question about where we are positioned.
Yeah, it works in larger organizations. It works any place you have a lot of data with a low access frequency.
All right, so one of the things I want to do, talking about solutions, along the wall here, you'll see a lot of different solution diagrams. At the end of the day, folks buy storage, but almost always it's for some sort of project, right? So if we go into Skype, we'll want to bring a guest expert onto today's program. Somebody you might know.
Oh no, it's the Rickatron.
Well, we'll see if he responds here. Is it politically incorrect just to bring someone straight onto video versus confirm them via the text?
Not Rick.
Okay, bring him on.
He's always wearing pants.
Oh God, let's hope so.
Hey, Rick.
Hey! Hey!
All right, Rickatron in the house, everybody. Hey, so I'm standing back here, Matt here. Rick, we got the Gestalt IT Tech Field Day in the house. A former delegate, I wanted to bring you on because the question just came up. Where would you use a Drobo if you weren't a small business? it seems like you're overkill here if it's going to be something that only small businesses use. Maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the stuff that Veeam has been doing lately with your version 6 and how that might apply to a broad set of customers.
Sure. Thanks again for letting me come on, Mario and everyone. The mission really is to talk to our core customer, and with Drobo, we have a lot of core customers that really are the same type of person, and they are looking for big features without big dollars, and we really bring 3 big features into that core customer's needs, and these are really features that they may not have had as an option before. The first is deduplication of our backup data. That's a very big feature that can be very expensive and honestly out of reach for a lot of people. The second is replication. What we've done with backup version 6 is actually brought replication into scenarios that many customers may not have been able to use replication. So we've taken WANs and made them work better for them, and allowed a lot of seeding options that make backups turn into replicas in situations where you might not have been able to do it before. And then probably most importantly, in line with Drobo, is the core customer, they don't always know what they need, okay? I've got this application, it's big, it's crazy. I don't have any numbers, I don't have any speeds and feeds on it. I have no idea how big the backup is going to be. I have no idea how big the dedupe, or how well the dedupe will perform. Well, a technology like BeyondRAID can help you out there. You can scale out your backup repository in Veeam Talk quite easily. Life is made simple with these types of backup targets that can grow with you and bring those other features like dedupe and replication to environments that may not have had that as an option before. So, in Veeam's talk, Mario, we've talked about this before. There's a lot of overlap in that, core customer type of environment. It's been really good for us.
Yeah, I think, Rick, what I see is people want it easy. And the reason I love Veeam, and I'll be honest, if you look around our room here, we got solution diagrams of all sorts of other software applications out there. But one of the consistent bits of feedback we get is it couldn't get any easier with Veeam. Instant recovery with a single click. You're managing your replication and your recovery from a very familiar interface that's super easy to use. So that's one of the reasons why I like you guys. And is that a Holiday Inn Express you're staying in?
Wow, you're good.
All right. Hold on. You've seen the commercial. You've seen the. Well, I've stayed in too many of them myself. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I just stayed in a Holiday Inn Express last night, right? So.
Well, that does show Drobo's a frugal company.
No, it's very frugal and prudent because it's all about both capacity and performance with the right price. Hey, so any last comments, Rick, or any questions for Rick while you have him? Bonus coverage of Veeam live from.
Part of the script.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for Rick?
Is that a work shirt, Rick?
Oh, you know it is. Look at that green. Come on.
Yeah,
you can spot that a mile away.
They don't come in that color without the logo.
Right.
No, I was just making sure it was because I would hope it was.
All right, folks. Hey, if you want to get any more information, Rick and I have laid out a couple podcasts together. I'm on his podcast on the 7th of May to talk about this stuff. And it's very different, right, Rick? It's from a small and medium business perspective. That person wants all the same capabilities that big guys do. They just can't buy it all in that one big package. So something like a free Veeam Essentials you get by buying 2 Drobos gets you into a really great solution for a low cost.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. I've been watching the show. Nice to see all of your faces again. Keep up the good work. I'm enjoying the live feed.
All right, cheers. Thanks, Rick.
All right.
All right, give it up for Rick. Woo!
I didn't do it.
All right.
I was really tempted to.
Hey,
So-
wait, I have 2 Drobos. I didn't get Veeam Essentials.
You got to buy the right ones. Trust me.
Wait, you have to buy them?
Yeah, we're taking
And
we're taking credit card to the door, folks. On your way out, swipe and you're good. We'll get you hooked up. So,
Wait, but do the doors open without the credit cards?
Not anymore. Thanks a lot, Howard.
all right.
That's what I get for giving them bad ideas.
I want to show you one thing about how easy is it to create a volume and get it mounted up on a Drobo. So here, if I click on volumes, and notice we're getting a lot of alerts here because we have a whole bunch of Drobos out there. Yes, you can and should buy a bunch of them. Oh, I'm late for a meeting. Cool. Volumes. If we go to create a volume here, I'm on the management port. I'm not on the system itself, so it doesn't give me the option to do a specific file system on it. But if this was VMware, I'd pick cluster. You go next, and I'm allowed to pick what size. Those who are new to Drobo Dashboard 2.1 or higher, we'll notice that we now have a custom button there, so you can, Howard's raising the roof, making some noise. You can choose not to use thin provisioning. You can make a small volume if you really want to.
That's
or
a fat volume?
yes. Well, it's not a fat volume. It's still thinly provisioned. But what we're saying is, if you have an application that wants to act as a circular buffer, or it's going to run away like crazy, you can set them lower than 1 terabyte. Previously, 1 terabyte was the floor. We now allow you to go lower.
Well, I actually want to do 1 terabyte and 1,001 terabytes and 1,002 terabytes. Because it's easier in vCenter to tell which one is which.
Right.
They're different sizes.
A very, very small one. That's really, really cool. So we've got that going on in terms of a RAID level. Now, for those of you who had your stopwatch going, now is the perfect time for us to go back to our I/O meter and see what our results display is giving us. We're going to stop that, fire her up, and what we'll hope to see here is that the read data that we were profiling over the time, we're going to take and promote those things over time. All right, Matt's going to tweak up on that. Got the 2 workers there. Yeah. See, Howard jinxed us. He was talking about all of our stuff there at the beginning. So any questions so far about any of the solution stuff? While Matt gets that going back up, we have a lot of people who call us asking for help, and they're the type of people who read your blogs. They're out looking for information. Would everybody agree that the guy who has $20,000 to spend doesn't have a whole lot of vendors coming up to them, giving them a lot of good advice on how to do their storage? They just don't have that. So what Drobo does provide is a set of how-to guides. In addition to these tested solutions, how-to guides and podcasts with experts from the industry who help us articulate how to put that sort of stuff together.
Having performance go down isn't good.
All right, so we
something.
Disk fails.
You know what the good news is? We've got 20 more minutes left because we have our magic reveal going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to motion. We're going to show you the doubling of the IOPS here in just a second. What I want to do, where's our extra person? Oh, there we are. So Tom's here. We're going to end this section here. I'm going to go ahead and hand off to Tom, and Tom can take us on the next section.
Question. How the volume is presented to the guests?
Oh, in VMware?
No, here at the security level. Use CHAP or just IQN?
So Matt, maybe you can...
So sure, we can go down here. Right now it's not enabled, but we could go here to enable, and we could go ahead and set a CHAP password there.
But CHAP's the only LUN masking that you guys offer, right?
Is there IP masking as a choice, IQN and CHAP, or is there only one security?
It's open or CHAP.
Okay.
Yeah, and we made it that way to make it simple. You can get lots of levels of security with other storage products. Our thought is most people have a fairly simple infrastructure where they're going to put this, or if they're using it for disk-based backup, they'll kind of carve it off and keep it separate. You do want to use CHAP in order to make sure that you're playing good between multiple servers and you don't accidentally mount something up. But that is your
I'd
level
rather
of
see
protection.
IP address masking.
Yes.
Okay.
It's simpler than CHAP. And IQNs were invented by somebody who was a sadist, and you should never make anybody type those things.
I kind of like the idea of interface masking.
Okay.
So that I could make things available to separate networks. There may be cases where I don't have somebody who's a network administrator in a small shop, but they can hook a certain work group up to a certain switch or switch port. In fact, I had a situation like that 2 or 3 years ago, where we had a creative group who wanted their own data, they wanted their own gigabit network, and I ended up putting a Netgear product out under one of their desks so that they had local access to it, and then anything else came up. But being able to say, okay, port 1 gets these volumes, port 2 gets these, port 3 gets these, could be useful in a small environment where there's not a lot of routing.
Yeah. So I mean, that's something to think about, Eric?
Yeah.
Well, we can't think about it as a good requirement. So.